Okay, we're going to go over the 3 different ways that you can do division with 3-digit, 4-digit numbers, okay? We're learning 3 different ways for a reason. Each way, when you learn multiple ways, you might decide one of them fits your brain better and is more easy for you to do. That's part of why we show 3 different ways. Another reason is we want to make sure that you understand the math that is happening in the division process. And we don't want you just memorizing it and not knowing what it means. So these 3 different ways can help you understand the math that's happening. And then if you want to do a process later that you kind of memorize, that's fine because you understand the math behind it. Okay, this is the one that I think makes the most sense for explaining the math. It's the box method, okay? So we're going to look at 960 divided by 8. The first thing we need to ask ourselves is, what are we dividing 8 into? We have 3 place values here. We have ones, tens, and hundreds. We need to start with the biggest value. So how many 8s will go into 900? So I have to think about it that way. How many 8s could, if I have 100 up here, because we're talking hundreds, 100 times 8 would give me 800. That will work. I could put 100 times 8 in there. If I made this 200 times 8, I'd be at 1600. And I know that wouldn't work because that would make this number right here bigger than my whole that I'm dividing by. So we want to know that we have to stop at 100, okay? 100 times 8 is 800. Let's subtract and see what we have left. 160 left. So I'm going to make a second box and put 160 left in there, okay? Now I want to ask myself, can 8 go into this? Can I put some, can I still use hundreds right here to figure out how many are left? And I actually can't because 8 cannot go into 1. But 8, so I'm done with this hundreds place value. I did it fully over here. Now I need to talk about tens. How many tens times 8 could go into 160? Well, I know that if I look at the first 2 digits, 16, that 2 8s or 20 8s will fit in there because 20 times 8 is actually 160. I could subtract it and I have nothing left. Now I could add these 2 together and my total would be 120. That would be my quotient, okay? Let's go over here to expanded notation. Expanded notation looks kind of like this one, except instead of making boxes, we're going to show all our thinking up here on top. So I know that 200 times 8 won't work because that would be too big. So I want to do that 100 times 8. 100 times 8 was 800. Subtract it. This is what I have left. Now I need to figure out how many 8s will go into here. We've already done hundreds and we did all of the hundreds we can do, so now we need to go to tens. I know that there are 16 tens and 160. So I want to know how many 8s will go into 16 tens. Well, 8 times 1 is 8. That would be 80. So 8 times 10 would be 80. What 20 times 8 would be 160. Subtract it, and I'm back to 0. Now I can add these 2 together and see my total. 100 plus 20 is 120. Okay? Now the last way to do it is that digit by digit. And you'll have to excuse this mess I've got here. My board has sticky stuff on it and the marker is sticking to it. I haven't gotten that special cleaner yet to get it cleaned off. Digit by digit looks like what your parents did. 8 goes into 9 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. When we do this one, we're not even talking about place value. We're not talking about hundreds. And that's why we don't start with this one. We start with these 2 because they help explain what we're talking about better instead of it just being thinking that that 1 up there is just a 1. It's actually not. It's 100. So 1 times 8 is 8. Bring down the 6. 8 goes into 16 2 times. 2 times 8 is 16. Bring down the 0. 8 cannot go into 0, so I put a 0 up there. 8 times 0 is 0. Subtract them. And I'm done. See how that 1 is actually not a 1, it's 100? And the 2 is not just a 2, it's a 20. But this part of way of doing it does not teach you that all along the way. It doesn't help you remember that. This way does, and this way does. You can do this kind of math as long as you've learned all about the 100 and the 20 and the values as you go.